trustee Kishner. So we got one more trustee, but I'm gonna, for the sake of everybody's time and being respectful, I'm gonna go ahead and get us back in session. We do have announcements out of closed session. In closed session, the Board of Trustees approved the following full-time temporary at-will classified administrative assignment. Daniel Vega is Acting Assistant Director, Institutional Technology from April 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2024, or until position is filled on a regular basis, whichever occurs first. The signing Assistant Director monthly salary will be based on Administrative Confidential Salary Schedule Range 17, Step E, 9,666. Mr. Vega will also receive a monthly stipend of 10% of classified salary schedule range 31, Step H, 897, from April 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2024, or until Assistant Director position is filled on a regular basis, whichever occurs first. For retaining network administrative duties, salary and stipend will be prorated for any partial month of service. And before we go into our information technology, I did want to recognize my staff who earlier. We are in the month of March, not February, and it is Women's History Month, and we have some very strong women leaders in this room. And I also wanted to recognize our incoming new County Board of Supervisors, which will be our first full woman Board of Supervisor, I think, in the state of California. So congratulations to all of those strong women and to all of you guys in here. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Next, I'm going to call 6.1. This is our information technology update. I'd like to call Terry McKinney. Mr. McKinney.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. I want to say I appreciate being a guest to the Board of Trustees meeting this evening. So thank you to the board, to the chair, and the rest of the board. Okay, yeah, I need to go a little bit further up. Thank you to the leadership team, the cabinet of Napa Valley College. Thank you to the key stakeholders that are present in this room, and thank you to the public, whoever is listening out there during this training. So my name is Terry McKinney. I'm the Chief Information Officer of Napa Valley College by way of Ellucian. So Ellucian is, of many things, a managed service provider that we have went into an agreement with Napa Valley College to provide a managed service. Part of that managed service is for leadership resources within the division of IT to be provided to Napa Valley College. And I started in November. I came in through the dead of night, the day after Thanksgiving. No one knew who I was, and I kept it that way. No, I'm just kidding. But what I came immediately during Christmas, I didn't have a chance to engage as many people, and people weren't thinking about the CIO during that time. So what I used was the opportunity. As soon as January hit, I came back on January the 2nd. And the first thing I said is I wanted to engage and begin, before I did anything else, is sit down and talk to people. Find out where they are, what's going well, and how is technology involved in that? Where are you struggling, and how is technology involved in that? Building those relationships, understanding what are the needs. So that helps define what my strategic priorities would be based on those needs. And so I collected a lot of good information. I appreciate those stakeholders' candor. Some of them were very honest and candor with what they felt. And I took that as very constructive information. Someone recently came up to me and said, you know, how are you going to deal with all the challenges in Napa Valley College? I said, I'm not going to deal with the challenges. I'm going to deal with the opportunities. So today we're going to be talking about opportunities. So what I'd like to share with you is just a little update of some what myself as Chief Information Officer, and by extension, Ellucian has done in the time that we've been on your campus. So just to give you a little background, Ellucian came on board. You probably already know, maybe I'm resharing this information around August, fall of 2023. And they started with a transition team. that transition team, began to establish the framework to kind of lead for that permanent position to come in, which ended up being myself. So when I was applying for the position, I didn't know that they had a transition team, so I'm already thinking I haven't even gotten the job, and I'm already thinking about, okay, here's what my plan is going to be on day one. And then I find out Lucian's already doing this work. They're just handing me documents. It's beautiful. It's never happened in my professional career. So it was a nice being a part of that. And just personally, two things. So this is my second time in Napa, California. First time I was with UCSF. I worked at a wonderful community college called Sonoma Valley Hospital. So this is not my first time in Napa area. I worked in Sonoma and lived in Napa. So I am a part of your community. I'm not some foreign entity from another planet. And it feels good. It feels like I'm returning home to a place that I knew very well, and just had separated from the area within the last couple of years. So this is very fresh. This isn't like a decade old. Second thing is, I've been doing IT for 24 years, and I started my career in higher education. First decade was in higher education. Then I got into the banking industry. That was different. Then I got into K-12, did that for about 9.5 years. Then I got into the healthcare sector. So I just really let's just touch every sector right before my career is over. And I had an opportunity to kind of think about what I wanted to do next. And there was nothing that gave me more pleasure and satisfaction than the first 10 years of my career. I was in higher education, and being around that spirit of academia and being a part of building into those key stakeholders, which are your students, being a part of that learning experience, building into them, building into them, and building them up at the same time, and positioning them to be the next leaders. I'm in the background. I'm just an IT guy, but I want to help facilitate and be used as an instrument to help propel all of these resources, all these phenomenal resources that you have that represents Napa Valley College. Use me as a resource to help propel you to make your students be successful. We want them to be the next leaders. We want them sitting at this very table, hopefully in the next 10 years or so, maybe quicker, who knows? All right, so that's being said, let's get right to it. Next slide, please. So I usually go by what I call guiding principles for myself. I actually have 10 guiding principles. That would have been too noisy to share with that in this framework. I would have lulled you to sleep. So I had to shorten it, but I couldn't go less than 7 because those 7 were so key. First guiding principle, immaterial what happens in this institution, immaterial what direction, immaterial what quantitative or qualitative posturing that we're in. These 7 guiding principles are important to me. First is alignment with institutional goals, ensuring that technology initiatives support and align with the overall mission, vision, and strategic goals of Napa Valley College. So one of the first things that I came on board and I asked for, I want to see your organizational master plan. And I couldn't find it. And I was looking everywhere. I was like, where is this plan? This plan. And someone finally told me, oh, we call it the educational master plan. Oh, where's that? Oh, it's right here. So now I had a chance to screen this educational master plan, which I think is in the final renderings or something like that. Thing hasn't been completely ratified, but I had a chance to kind of take a little peek in it. But it was important to me because I want to align my strategic technology objectives to closely and perfectly align with the strategic initiatives of the institution. It's important that I prioritize that. Number 2, risk management and compliance. Proactively identifying and mitigating technology risks, ensuring compliance with relevant regulation standards, and maintaining business continuity and disaster recovery plans. Boy, that's a lot, right? That's a lot to say. But let's pick this apart real quick. Identifying and mitigating technology risk. One of the first priorities that when Lucian and myself came and said, gang, we don't have 2-factor authentication at this school. We have to change that. If we do nothing else in the time that I'm here, we've got to have 2-factor authentication. It is a fundamental expectation in any IT industry to have 2-factor authentication. Napa Valley College, I can confidently say, has 2-factor authentication for every constituency as part of this institution, including, and most importantly, the students. Compliance. with relevant regulations and standards. I have prioritized, and one of the slides will show you this, strengthening the partnership that we have with the California Chancellor's Office. So Lucian and myself began to engage the California Chancellor's Office very directly and repeatedly, and with the help of Mr. Reeves, to establish that we have some needs and we can use your help. And guess what? They are dying to help us, believe it or not. They were welcoming us to the party again. And so from those discussions, you're going to see some very quick results that have happened from those very short discussions with some good people with the California Chancellor's Office. Student success, prioritizing technology solutions that support student success, engagement, and retention, such as learning management systems, student information systems, and academic advising tools. Why are we here? We are here because of the student. This place does not exist if the students aren't here. So we look at that student, that young man or woman or what have you, as being, that's our priority. We're investing in them. And I think about it as a parent myself is, I want to know they're grown now. They're not kids, but at the same time, they're still our kids, right? They'll never grow. We'll still look at them as our babies, right? So they're 18 to 20 years old, mid 20 years old. They want to feel comfortable that they're investing not only in their kid, but that where they're taking their kid to, that the institution is prioritizing them. So it's important to me as a guiding principle to make sure that I'm using my resources, my talent, my skill set to position students to be successful. I want technology to be a catalyst to that. Cost optimization and efficiency, striving to optimize technology investments and resources to achieve cost efficiencies while delivering high quality service and support. We're a community college. We don't have to act like a community college. And what I mean by that is you can very well be a small environment but have an enterprise level thinking. And guess what? Technology has really changed so much to level the playing field to where some of these enterprise level systems and technology resources that you have are actually affordable and reasonable. It's not going to cost you millions of dollars. It's going to break your general ledger. You're going to have an opportunity for us to take advantage and optimize enterprise level. And I have to say enterprise because that's what we're talking about. Even though this is higher education, we're talking about those high level systems that Fortune 500 companies will be using. We could do that right here in a community environment with the right resources and the right planning. Data governance and privacy. I watch a lot of British shows and they say privacy. So I'm going to say privacy for some reason. Establishing robust data governance policies and practices to ensure the security, privacy, and ethical use of institutional data. There's a word it's called in IT, in technology, it's called PII. It's called personally identifiable information. And for the students and for yourselves, those are pieces of data that is identifiable to you. What is that? Your social security number is a PII. Your date of birth is a PII. Your home address is a PII. So we need to make sure technology, Lucian, Napa Valley College IT department needs to make sure that we are prioritizing, ensuring that we're protecting the security of those confidential and very important assets. We want to make sure that we're not opening the door to get that information into bad actors' hands. So that's a guiding principle for me. Innovation and agility, promoting innovation, agility, and technology adoption to enhance teaching, learning, research, and administrative processes. One thing I love about being in higher education is the spirit of innovation never stops here. You are always trying to innovate how to learn, how to instruct. You're always trying to figure out how to be agile. Let's be nimble. How can we adapt with as the landscape changes in learning and instruction? We had COVID, everything reset, right? I was in healthcare when it happened, but still I got impacted. Higher education, I can imagine what you had. You had to rethink. In other words, you had to recast what success looked like when COVID happened. Everyone went home. I have to think about how I got to get remote access technology. So now what that singular incident created all this plethora of tools at our resources, such Zoom has just exploded, right? And all these virtual qualities. And now we've seen how valuable some of those untethered experiences have become. And we're now introducing that into the classroom environment, right? And we want the student to feel untethered. We want the student to feel like they have that 24/7 access. Some of them are, what do you call it? When you can't sleep, sleep apnea. They don't sleep. So they'll do homework in the middle of the night. Why shouldn't they have the opportunity to be able to complete their assignments at 2 or 3 a.m.? Not encouraging it. Get that 8 to 10 hours of sleep. But they should have the opportunity if it's there. Collaboration and partnerships, fostering collaboration and partnerships, both internally and externally, to leverage resources, share best practices, and achieve common goals. The driver in technology today is relationships with you, relationships with your key stakeholder, relationship with your vendors, and since you're a community college, relationships with your actual community. Next slide, please. All right. Probably went too long. I need to speed this up a little bit. So 7 strategic priorities that I have that I came in with, presented it to the cabinet, and we have, in all intents and purposes, ratified these as being 7 strategic priorities within IT. Strategic priority number 1, and first and foremost, the first thing I cannot think higher of is IT security. And for those of you who are around, we hear the infamous incident of 2022. Know very well why that should be prioritized, right? So as I stated, campus multi-factor authentication was one of the highest priorities under IT security. Status done. That is completed, ladies and gentlemen. Strategic priority number 2 is to strengthen engagement with third-party vendors and the California Chancellor's Office. California Chancellor's Office wants to help us. They want to empower us. They want to provide us with the tools and resources so we can be successful, so those students can be successful. We also need to strengthen our partnerships with third-party vendors, the Microsofts of the world, making sure that we're in compliance, make sure we're following the proper regulations. That is completed. We have, there were some, I'll say opportunities. I'm not going to say challenges. There were some opportunities for us to be in compliance with the California Chancellor's Office, and we met that opportunity. There were some opportunities for us to be in compliance with some major third-party vendors that Napa Valley College had invested in. We met that opportunity. That status is now completed. Strategic priority number 3, infrastructure upgrades and campus Wi-Fi expansion. We are overhauling and expanding the Wi-Fi campus network as we speak. That project currently sits at 80% complete. We have, I wish Daniel was there right now. We have most of the institution already, I say Daniel because he's the project manager of this. We have most of the institution externally already configured the hardware. And then the second piece, obviously, we go in there and we have software, but we do the configuration for the actual wireless access points. And how much of a game changer that's going to be when that student can potentially go from this library to this parking lot to now I'm lost. I don't know where I'm at. To building 1400 and still have a ubiquitous untethered connection. That's a game changer. So we're doing Wi-Fi expansion. We're 80% complete. Strategic priority number 4, business continuity, disaster recovery implement, disaster recovery plan, catastrophes. Obviously, y'all, you have to deal with y'all. South came out at me. You have to deal with the fires. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, by the way. You have to deal with fires, earthquakes, but we also need to now consider cyber is an emergency, right? We have to be able to have a continuity and disaster recovery plan to actually protect us in both areas. And that's in development. We are in the process of doing both at the same time. Next slide, please. Strategic priority number 5 is the strategic technology plan. So we are actively discussing the strategic technology plan. And as I said before, that we want to ensure that that aligns in complete synergy with the Napa Valley College Educational Master Plan. Well, we call it the Strategic Technology Plan. You probably know it more as the TMPD Technology Master Plan. They are one and the same. I'm just used to using that word because that's just what we called it for so long. That's in development. We have already begun to have discussions on it. I have been a guest at the District Technology Committee and some of your other consortiums that you've formed, and we are in the process of looking at strategic technology plan. Strategic priority number 6, total cost of ownership. We are in the process, in development. We are close to completing this, of doing an inventory of our entire asset, our digital assets, our hardware, our software, And then that will help us to level set. And then once we level set through a total cost of ownership program, now we can start getting to levels of granularity to where we can start thinking about something like a hardware lifecycle policy. How long do you want to define your systems to be? When should we replace that projector that's been sitting there? Someone said it was a 15-year-old projector in one of these 15-year-old projector. The fact that a 15-year-old projector still runs, someone needs to pay that company money. That's amazing. That's actually not easy to do. But those are things we're going to think about is total cost of ownership. We're in a process to help us get it because it comes to dollars and cents at the end of the day, be able to do some budget forecast and cost optimization. Strategic priority number 7 is the ERP. If you are familiar, that is an Elucian product. We use Colleague as our enterprise resource planning program, enterprise resource planning system, and we're in the process of migrating that to the cloud. Currently, that is an on-premise ERP, and we are migrating that to the cloud with a launch date scheduled for summer 2024. Next slide, please. California Chancellor's Office. Oh, on that page, I can't see fully. So just real quick, I'll just go through this. I think I'm probably hitting my 20-minute mark. Funding, student security, collaboration and information, GRC, governance, risk, and compliance, and infrastructure security. One huge thing that Lucian was interested in doing is we wanted to ensure that we have announced ourselves to the California Chancellor's Office and made it aware of where there are opportunities that they can assist us. They were funding Napa Valley College at about $175,000, I think, annually, if I'm not mistaken. And Lucian had prioritized engaging them and providing them with materials to show that the need merited to them to increase that amount. So they increased the funding to Napa Valley College from $175,000 to $600,000. Hopefully that could be money well spent. 100,000. Okay, student security. Napa Valley College is one of the California community colleges to participate in what's called the LexisNexis pilot. So the California Chancellor's Office has a product that has, it's a student fraud mitigation tool. We want to be able to protect the students when they're going through the application process. And at the end of this, they want it, right now it's a beta. They're beta testing it. And at the end of this session, they said, well, who wants to participate? The first one to raise my hand. I registered, but then I found out I'm a contractor, so I can't really sanction it. So I had to go to Mr. Reed and say, can you help sanction this so we can make this happen? And he said, yes, sir. So we are going to be Napa Valley College, they're going to give us resources to actually stage or stand up this LexisNexis pilot to help us do a student fraud mitigation that they will implement actively in Napa Valley College to mitigate student data. And at some point, I'm pretty sure it's probably just going to go in full production. Collaboration, information sharing. We are in the process, Napa Valley College is in the process of applying for membership, which is called the CISOA, Chief Information Systems Officers Association of California Community Colleges. Didn't know that existed until like 2 weeks ago. I said, oh, I could be a membership of that. And they have these resources and professional development. They met in Riverside, wherever that is. And I said, okay, I want to be a part of that. So that's something Napa Valley College will be applying and will be a membership of. GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. We're actively pursuing a partnership with a company through the Chancellor's Office called C1 Risk. And they're the global market leader in governance, risk, and compliance. And then lastly, the infrastructure security, Napa Valley College partnered with, by way of the California Chancellor's Office, a company called Torchlight. Torchlight specializes in cybersecurity managing services, and they help do what we call a triennial cybersecurity review. They actually gave us equipment to test our entire infrastructure for vulnerabilities, and they presented us with findings. We're using those findings right now to shore up our posture with the campus. Next slide, please. This is just a quick dashboard. Lucian has provided already. Napa Valley College leadership has seen this. We are still working to make it more publicly known, but there's going to be a source that you will be able to go to see what is the progress. What are the projects we're working on? Where are we at in the projects? How many of them are going to be completed? If you look a little further right, you'll see those column called return on investment. This ROI, some of those numbers, we're actually going to fill in some numbers so you can actually see what is the ROI that Lucian is involved in, and certainly Napa Valley College IT department just in general. But this is what it looks like. It's just, I didn't want to go into deep detail because it'll just send you down a road and it'll be pitchforks in a minute for me if I don't get off this podium. Next slide, please. Key findings. So for me, as your chief information officer, and I work at the pleasure of you, here are some of my key findings. Is one, IT security. We want to establish a full court press. We want to be the Blue Devils of as it relates to college basketball. Y'all know anything about basketball, you know that they play really good defense. That's what Mike Krzyzewski did. I'm a basketball guy, and I'm from the East Coast. So why did I even say that? You probably hate to. Full court press, strengthening our IT security posture. That's one of the key findings. I will prioritize that. Staffing needs. We recognized an opportunity to shore up areas where we need the representative competencies and skill set. And one of those is the IT department is in desperate need of a network engineer or a network administrator. So this is one of the asks that, you will be having discussions about, and we'll see what happens. Number 3 is hardware, legacy equipment and classroom spaces and network. You have a lot of old stuff in a lot of places everywhere. We need to, that actually gets into the area of a security risk, having equipment that old. So we need to have a real discussion on how we can prioritize getting this legacy equipment that is actually in your classroom spaces. And I've heard a gazillion teachers tell me they're so frustrated with how dark those projectors are coming in there. We need to emphasize that. We want the experience for the student to be optimal and then to be treated as honored guests when they're on our campus. And then training, campus-wide IT awareness and training programs. We will be implementing opportunities to empower our user base by showing best practices of utilization of your technology resources and tools, how to kind of be aware of phishing attacks and things of that nature. And so we will be implementing some campus-wide awareness and training programs. Next slide. Done. Questions?
Questions, guys?
If I get an email from PG&E asking for my credit card number, should I share it with them? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I don't. But thank you for your presentation. That was very educational.
I'm just kidding. No, the answer is clearly no. This is recorded. That's a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, and welcome. You've got some work cut out for you, but we appreciate having you and thank you for jumping into it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move to item 7. This is public comment, general. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able, under the Brown Act, to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comment to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will occur at this time on such items. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. And I do have 2 speaker cards here. Christine Pruitt, would you like to?
Hi, short person. I'm Christine Pruitt. I'm a professor of English here at Napa Valley College. There are some new board members here since I last addressed this body. So let me first say welcome and thank you for your service. The district has increased operational spending by 17% in 2021. An additional 15% in 2022, and the final budget plan for this academic year is to increase operational spending by another 21%. Operating expenses were 38% higher than other colleges the size of NVC last year. Based on the increase in this year's budget, that percentage is projected to become even higher. Over the past 3 years, the college spent $7.6 million less on instruction than we should have under the 50% law, a current law defined by Ed Code and California regulations. 71 other college districts managed to meet the 50% law and prioritize instructional needs. The district's spending choices show that teaching is not a high enough priority for the college. These choices also reflect a leadership structure that is isolated and insulated. The housing project, the contracting of IT services with a private company for $1.1 to $1.9 million annually, and other major decisions have been made unilaterally by the board over the last 3 years. They were not discussed in or recommended by committees. Constituent groups were not given the opportunity to help plan for transitions or successful implementation. In the case of IT, our computers are still slow, our Wi-Fi is still inconsistent, and significant service disruptions continue for both staff and students. Many faculty on this campus do not feel that their voices are being heard or respected. I cite the EMP survey results as one piece of evidence. There are others. All constituent group members should have a voice in decision-making, not just a select few members. The board and the college president need to do a better job listening to the college campus as a whole, recognizing that the academic senate plays a unique role in making recommendations on matters defined in Title V, and allow faculty through established governance processes to give you the classroom perspectives and information you need in order to make effective decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Kendall? Kendall Crane?
Good evening. I spoke last month regarding the possible repurposing of room 430. And I just wanted to come and say thank you. I sent emails to many of you after I spoke last month, and I feel heard. And the sheriff's program, the SAL program that runs judo classes and wrestling classes out of that room that the college is offering, gave us the good news that we will be able to continue using that space. And I just wanted to extend my appreciation on behalf of the program as a parent and as an NVC alumni, that I feel proud and grateful that the college is helping to facilitate community programs like this. So thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. It was really good to see it actually work out for everyone. So good job, team. Do we have any more public comment? Anyone virtual?
No, we do not.
Thank you, Catherine. We're going to move to consent calendar. This is action item, approval of consent calendar. Have any questions on the consent calendar from trustees?
Move approval. I'll second.
Motion from trustee Baker and a second from trustee DeLuna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent calendar approved. Next is, I'm following my notes here. We have item 9. This is the CCT board election packet. We did go through that, and I'm going to list. I'm actually going to turn it over to trustee Inez DeLuna to go. We have decided to endorse.
So this is I'm going on my 3rd year, I think, on the CCT board. And I went through the nominees and talked to a few of them. Many of them are on the board already that I proposed. And so this is the list of 7 that we can nominate. So we can nominate a total of 7. These are the ones that I propose we nominate. The ones that are previously or currently on the board have been great advocates for anything related to Napa Valley College, districts of our size and background. And the 2, I think, that would be new members if elected. One of them is from Santa Rosa Community College, and the other one is from another similar district.
Nice to have some representation up north. So this is a proposed selection. So if there's any changes to the list, I'll just look for
Well, looking through the nominations, I did really like Milton Richards and Raymond Macarena. But the other people I liked are all on that list.
Okay. Are you wanting to add them? Because we do have, we're kind of.
I'd love to see if we could switch that.
We would have, we only get seven, so we would have
We
to
do
take
have
two.
seven.
No,
so-
I understand that.
I actually, at least Raymond was next on my list. So, I agree with, he's also a great candidate.
I mean, we've all had time to look at this and I think it's a good list. It actually has grown and I think they're all good candidates. So
Yeah,
that I think I'm gonna ask for a motion on it to approve these 7 to be endorsed.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
What's the motion?
Motion to approve the list of 7 as
Oh, okay.
already. I have a motion by trustee Baker or trustee Rios and a second by trustee DeLuna.
Sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Trustee Kishner, all those
I'll say that.
consent? Okay.
Sure. Nay.
Okay. That said, we are gonna move to administrative services. This is information item, unrestricted general fund, operating revenues and expenditures. Budget update as of February 29th, 2024. Mr. Jim Reeves.
Thank you, President Iverson. I call your attention to the screen with the 1,000 numbers there. We are at 8/12 of the through February 29th, or 67% of the fiscal year. I'm sorry. Do I need to repeat that? We are at 67% of the fiscal year. So if you want to just reference 67% with where we are generally on the right column, that's a good barometer for where we should be, though it's not exact. Our revenues, we're at 65% of our revenues at this point, and we're at about $1.4 million more than at this time last year. That 1.4 million doesn't mean we'll get more. It just means when we received it. So I want to be careful there that we represent that appropriately. Our salaries are the next section. The variances are pretty good with a few exceptions. You'll notice that our full-time faculty salaries are trending below budget, about 60%. That is primarily due to some faculty positions that either are on leave for some reason, and we're included in the original budget and are on leave. The 70% is an increase, or certainly over 67%, but is generally the opportunity, the need to backfill some of those vacant faculty positions. So that's what we're seeing there. Not a significant financial consideration here. Next one, we're trending lower on administrative academic permanence, and we're trending pretty well with everything with the exception of student wages. Student employment came up at our budget meeting earlier today. It is a small number, relatively speaking, but there are certainly some concerns that were raised about why the variance is where it is. So we made a commitment to go back and take a deeper dive. Student wages are paid from 2 sources: federal work-study programs and this Fund 11. So we just need to understand where those are, how those are being booked, and whether they are being reflected appropriately. The tail here is that we're at 62% of our total salaries. So with respect to 67%, we're in pretty good shape relative to total salaries. You'll recall that our salaries and benefits are 85% of our budget. So our trend here looks fairly positive, Under benefits, our outlier is and our PERS contributions at 79%. I mentioned this at our last meeting. After digging a little deeper, what we determined was that we actually underfunded it at the budget. So you'll notice in the blue column F, we funded it at $2.5 million. The previous year, we funded it at $2.6 million. So what that tells us is we had some salary increases, obviously, but we didn't increase that benefits budget commensurately. So in our April meeting, I'll mention this a little again, we'll be presenting to both the budget committee and to the board an adjusted budget that should reflect those adjustments there. Again, total employee benefits are trending at about 66%, so we're ultimately on target there. Our books and supplies are at 61%. We're doing okay there. The 23.98% is always, grabs your attention. The numbers are very small there, $4,000. And they were due to essentially two areas, our college police expense, and there was one other small one I don't recall. Our other operating expenses, our outliers look like they are travel, conference, and professional development. We're running at 77%. Our budget allocation this year is 186,000. We spent 142,000 of that. Some of that is very much time-based. Faculty and staff preparing to travel into the remainder of the spring term. So that's worth keeping an eye on, but I'm not particularly concerned there. The other outlier at 73% is insurance and utilities. Excuse me. Again, we're seeing an increase, electricity cost increase of 183,000 and natural gas increase at 121,000. It gives rise to that fairly significant variance. I will share with you that I have asked our facilities team to move aggressively toward looking at our energy profile, particularly in the solar arena, to develop and move forward with an RFP to bring an expansive solar solution to the campus. So you'll be hearing more about that soon. We're at 103% on our legal election and audit. Let's see, no, on our advertising and printing. So we just seem to have an increase in our printing costs. I can't answer specifically. It looks like bulk mail as well. So we need to take a closer look at that. It's a relatively small number, but again, it presents a fairly significant outlier. The larger numbers is dues and memberships were at 197% of budget. And I'm sorry, our rentals that are 197% of budget. That's largely due to a reclass. We still have some questions on memberships. We're running high there. What we want to do is do an analysis of what we're paying for, whether there's some duplication in memberships across the campus. And frankly, to do an audit, do we need memberships in all the organizations that we currently are involved with? Our capital outlay is 75%, not a particular concern as we move through the year, but worth keeping an eye on. In total, our total expenditures were at 64% of our budget. Again, trending in a positive direction. And again, I repeat, we will have some additional expenses. We anticipate some salary adjustments moving forward, and some other expenses that were not anticipated at the beginning of the year. We'll present to the budget committee, excuse me, and ultimately to the board at our next meeting in April. I would certainly entertain any questions.
Any? Trustee Baker?
Just curious, on a couple of these things where there's a wide variance, since you're in budget for next year right now. I mean, you could look at that as overspent, but you could also look at it as under budgeted. And I'm just wondering, like, for instance, with the student employee one, obviously there was a huge dip during COVID, but if you look at the previous years, the amount of money that was budgeted in that account far exceeded what was budgeted in this year. And then, so it's not surprising to me that we're over budget, but I'm just wondering going forward on those things, and how do you determine what is a realistic number for future budgets?
That's a good question. If you look at the trend analysis in 1920, we spent $176,000 in student wages. It dropped to $26,000 the following year. That's an anomaly. And up to $60,000 the following year. So I think what we need to do is do a deeper dive on how much of this is going to the federal work study program, how much is coming to Fund 11, and come to terms about how many positions we need and how many we really need to support students in seeking employment. We will have some additional opportunities off of Fund 11 and off of Fund 12 for student employment moving forward with our residential program. So I think there's some opportunities for savings, but I I think Trustee Baker, we need to do a deeper dive on the Fund 12 piece to understand how much is going there and how much should be going there and how much should be coming to Fund 11.
Other questions, trustee Kitchener? Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Give you a minute for a drink because you're up next with the housing report.
I am saturated. Thank you, President Ivers. This is a report by both Dr. Gutierrez and myself, and I'll begin this, and we're going to do a little tag team here, so bear with us. This is an update on what's happening with our little construction project at the north end of the campus. It's moving along very nicely. And I'm happy to say that we are on schedule. We're actually a tad ahead of schedule and on budget. Can you scroll forward, please, Catherine? Another slide, please. Just to remind you what we're trying to achieve when this program was envisioned, and some of our board members can probably relay this by heart. They know it by heart. Provide an affordable, quality on-campus living experience. Promote an even more engaged and diverse population, enhance campus engagement, support recruitment and retention of students, faculty, and staff, and extend campus integration with the community. Next slide, please. I won't spend much time here. This is essentially the mile markers. We're in 24, and you'll notice we are 5 months, almost to the day, from inviting students to join us in our residential program. Next slide. These are unit types and mix. We have in the 4-story building, traditional apartments of 116 units on 4 floors. Apartment style furnished, 4 stories, 200 beds. Traditional residence hall furnished, 4 stories, 264 beds. And a total of 588 beds, but I don't see that number. 23% of those are committed to low cost, supported by low cost to students, supported by a $31 million grant from the state of California. That low price entry point is $799 per month. Next slide, please. When we envisioned implementing housing on our site, we envisioned this happening in 2 phases. One is the initial startup phase that we're right in the midst of, and the second, it was a phase that caused us to plan for how we integrate students holistically into the campus environment. So you can see phase 1, the development of processes, procedures, programs that support the outreach, marketing, and student services necessary to welcome a student residential population. And then we go and we list the kinds of areas that we're working on. We have an implementation team led by Robin D'Arcangelo, who meets often to integrate and to plan for what that looks like for students from a student life perspective, how we integrate financial aid and other services into that experience, what we need to work with Raystar, the operator, in terms of opening the program and making sure students feel welcomed and feel like they could be successful at the institution. Next slide, please. This is phase 2, and we are just getting underway here. Phase 2 is the development of programs and engagement opportunities with the goal of providing a comprehensive collegiate experience. Initiatives and programs include, but are not limited to, strategies that advance engagement in the academic, social, cultural life of the college, and the organization and advancement of student service programs, learning communities, and other academic supports within the student housing program, and the development and advancement of co-curricular opportunities among faculty in support of curricular objectives. Housing is just not housing on college and university campuses. They really are an opportunity to integrate the academic life, the social life, the cultural life of students to advance their ability, their skill set, and their awareness of living in community. Next slide, please. Here's some key operational indicators. We're projected to complete construction by July 24. Our furniture and fixtures will be installed by June of 24. They're well on their way. Projected move-in date for staff and student resident assistants, July of 24. Our licensing agreements anticipated to begin March 24th. We are at the very end of having that legal document that families and students can commit to our residential program in place. Fingers crossed by Monday. The number of inquiries to date are 440. I just updated this last night, I believe. The number of applications to date are 333 as of the March 18th report. We've added a limited number of 10-month license agreements in response to the concerns that were raised about, maybe I don't want to be in a university or college housing program for 12 months. I just want to be here for a year and have the opportunity to come back in September or August of the following year and do that. We have a limited number of those, but it's certainly responsive to the need and the desire of some families and students to have their students here for 10 months as opposed to 12. Just some very initial demographics. Our average age is 24. I saw the range was 18 to 50. So we're looking at a population that's very representative of community colleges. And certainly we need to be aware of that in our programming and how we support that diverse student body. Additional demographic information will be available when agreements are signed. The tale of how successful and how we're moving forward will be the number of students who are actually signing on leases. One of the significant barriers today is that at a federal level, the FAFSA information is not rolling through to institutions across the country. It's rolling through later than it has historically. So we're hearing now that we should begin to receive the FAFSA information from student applicants in the next 2 weeks, and they'll begin to trickle in. At that point, students will have enough information to make a commitment to licensing agreements and living in our program. And we'll see some jump in the number of licenses signed and commitments made. Next slide, please.
This is me.
Dr. Guerrero, you're on.
You heard VP Reeves speak about the phases of the implementation of River Trail, and these next few slides are really going to be an update or a progress report as to where we are with phase one. Over the last several months, there's been a lot of movement on campus, specifically with individuals on campus, but also our Great Start Martin group, to come up with an outreach plan or to talk about how we get the message out. Over the next several slides, you're going to see some copies of examples of what's been put together and what's been going out. And actually, in front of you, I believe you have some information that we'll be talking about in a minute here. So I think what's also really important to talk about is that there's an enhancement of the online presence of our River Trail village in the virtual world. So we're getting the word out. It's getting out there. We are also engaging with Study USA, which is about extending to our international communities, right? So really getting the word out globally around what we're doing here. People want to come to Napa, believe it or not, right? And live here and study at this beautiful campus and just have the experience of being here. So a lot of really important work happening around that. In addition, I think what's something that's really exciting as well and is the recruitment of athletes. So what we've been doing for some time now, since December of 23, is we've engaged software to really do recruitment really nationwide, worldwide to our athletes. So we've seen a huge jump in that space. If you were to speak with Dean Jerry Dunlap, he can tell you that he's very busy taking a lot of information from potential athletes and students who want to come here to play on our teams. So it's very exciting around that work. And again, you have some examples in front of you, but there is a monthly newsletter that is put together that really does summarize the important work that's been happening. I want to acknowledge Dean D'Arcangelo, who's put that together with her team. Spends a lot of time with that, in addition to our PIO Rod, who assists in that space. So a lot of really good information is there for you to check out, for you to see. We've been doing lots of work on campus to our different departments, in particular to student affairs. Why is this important? Because student experience, the wraparound services is critical for the success of River Trail. and of all of our students. But we want to make sure that when students come into the River Trail Village, that they are supported, that they have the support of the academic counselors, that the enrollment piece is seamless, that financial aid is happening for them, right? And that they're connected to this community. So that's really important. We've done presentations to student affairs staff and departments, doing deep dives and answering some really important questions around how is River Trail going to impact my daily work? Folks want to know. People in the different departments are interested in understanding how that flow is going to be. So we're working through that and identifying that and engaging in conversations around that. I think what's really important, and I've already spoke a little bit about this, is there's been a lot of information that's been put together, but it's also been put together in Spanish. So now we have information both in Spanish and in English, and that work is really key and important. So we're making sure that we get the word out to all of our audiences, in particular to our Napa areas, right? So in the outreach that I specifically engage, when I'm at Valley, I have a lot of potential students and families who say they'd love to come to Napa, but it's just too far to drive. Right. So like we said, Rosa or Nurse School, if we can offer them housing, they get a lot of Spanish speakers. It's definitely a benefit. So also, I forgot to mention, I frequently ask questions for our internal audiences to help us promote our River Trail is something that's also been put together by the team to really help guide students along the way. So if we want to go to the next slide. And this is just an example of what Gray Star has done really around kind of the residential life to expect your students. This isn't in particular to Napa Valley College, but these are some things that we are working on internally to develop for our own students. Next slide. This slide is a really important slide because what this slide does, it breaks down kind of what is that onboarding process for our students, right? If a student is interested in coming to River Trail, what do they need to do? So it takes them literally steps 1 through 8, with filling out the application to River Trail to really move it, right? What we're doing right now, I want to really lift this example up. Is what we're doing right now in student affairs, specifically looking at this and making sure that we're attaching all other parts of student affairs to it, right? So that life cycle of a student that's onboarding or coming into the college, we really are making sure that we're not the financial aid is part of it, that the counseling and advising is part of it, that the connection to our DSPS, if appropriate, is part of it, that all of our different services have a connection here, so students kind of know where to go. So ultimately, this is going to become, I think, something that we can really share with our community, but also just internally know what is the process of a student, a life cycle, if you will, going through our housing, our River Trail. So it's exciting. It's work in progress as well. Next slide. Here's some information about the grants rate process. So if you are wanting to be selected for a grant, receive a reduced rate, this kind of takes students through that process. Again, we're waiting on a financial aid piece that is a holdup, but I think once we have once the federal financial aid is able to give us the information to our college, hopefully this will move through a little quicker. Next slide. Again, an example of a flow chart, have a status check for students, what needs to happen kind of month by month, where we're at. Just another example of some of the important work that's been done, is happening. Next slide. And finally, this is kind of, again, where are we at today? What's been completed or work in progress? That you heard VP Reeves speaking about the license agreement is very exciting news, right? That we are to have that completed very, very soon. There is conversations right now and discussions really around making sure that the financial aid processes, the enrollment processes are lining up with the housing processes, right? So again, we're waiting on fast foot information, but conversations are happening around how to make sure that's seamless, right? So students can experience hopefully a seamless process throughout. In addition to that, I spoke a little bit about this already. It's like a college counseling, right? Making sure that they are connected to student affairs immediately. Students don't fall through the cracks. And additional work around conduct, Title IX. This is really important area. So that's a work in progress right now, working with Gray Star and developing a manual for that. I want to just speak a little bit about kind of the student life support services. I've touched on a few of these already, but in addition to kind of the academic support that students are going to get, that kind of overall support, really we're also considering looking at what's it going to mean for them as far as mental health support, right? So we're working with our partners right now to come up with a plan to make sure we're able to support our students and residents around any personal mental health counsel support that they may need. In addition to that, international student support and making sure that all of our students from overseas get the support that they need to help connect it to Napa Valley College, to larger community as well. Food services discussion that's occurring right now. We're looking at doing work specifically with our basic needs food service to see how we can really support, get them the support that they need to be able to offer more support to our students. Transportation is another conversation we've been having, and making sure that our students can get around. So that's a discussion that continues, is underway. I showed some examples of what a device calendar of events can look like. More work is happening in that internally. Resource guide around how to connect to the larger neighborhood communities is also happening in some of the things you see there. And then there's also, I'm as far as kind of the impact for students, that connection to community, not only just involvement, but engagement, right? How do we really offer opportunities for our students that be living here to engage our larger community kind of in the civic level too, right? So how do we engage, promote leadership? So some conversations around how do we use the services that already exist at our career center to maybe make some connections. Next slide.
Bringing this home, some other considerations that are right in front of us. Campus police and safety staffing, safety and security is high on our high of mind and high priority. We're currently recruiting for additional safety officers. We have a proposal to support by county sheriff to provide overnight support. We're looking at that as perhaps a 1-year option until we can kind of staff up to be able to do that ourselves. This evening, actually, we're doing a safety survey of the campus. Hopefully it gets dark soon because I think they're about ready to start, to understand what the impacts of the campus, what impacts will be presented to students who are here after dark. So we'll look forward to the results of that. We also need to develop institutional capacity. This is a new venture, obviously, for us, but we need to continue to evaluate and identify support services and staffing gaps through through the 24-25 budget process. We're revisiting college organizational structures in response to a residential population that'll be going on into next year, providing professional development opportunities that advance capacity. We have some folks attending the CACUHO conference, which is the state college and university housing conference. I think that's next week. We also are participating. I'll be a panelist with the Chancellor's Office on student housing in the state of California in early April. We are looking for opportunities to help our folks understand what the real impact of student housing will be on campus. Next slide, please. Just to give you a couple of indicators of interest here. Today, through the implementation team and Gray Star, we held an open house. I did a walk by there, and I was really impressed with the amount of interest. It effectively was a tour of where we are now in that program, in those buildings. The interest was extraordinarily strong there. Lots of really excited interest there. So I was really pleased, and I think Robin D'Arcangelo was pleased with that kind of response. So the word's getting out. The second piece of information I would add is that we are learning that the number of students from out of country, F1 students, and out of state are jumping up fairly quickly for us. So that is really positive news that people are viewing Napa and Napa Valley College as a place to go to school, and that you don't have to live in the neighborhood to do that. So very positive kinds of information there. So that would conclude our report for the moment, and we'd certainly be open to questions.
No questions? I have. Go ahead.
Actually, I do have two questions. Sorry. You mentioned that 23% of the incomes were low income. 23% were low income
23% of the units
of the
are
units.
dedicated to.
I'm wondering why that number. Can we increase it? Is it impossible to increase?
It is possible to increase. We would have to find some additional funding to support rent subsidies.
Thank
The
you.
$31 million effectively is the amount that we're committed to providing those low-cost rents.
Thank you. Also, we mentioned difficulty in transportation. Do we know if Napa Valley Transit Authority offers our students free bus rides, or if there's a way to set that up? Like, that would really help with.
We're in discussion with them right now about that,
Yeah,
actually, to see how we
awesome.
can make that happen, or see what's possible. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Because it's intimidating even from American Canyon. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Thank you,
that's-
Jim.
Any other questions? I just had kind of a clarifying question. So we have 333 applications
In progress.
and we can't approve anything without the licensing agreement or the
We can approve their application as complete. But students are unable to commit yet because they need additional information about student aid.
Okay.
And I do have a question. So do we have any options for students that possibly don't have the credit history, the backing that other students normally would, that maybe don't necessarily need low income housing, but they don't have that?
That's a great question, Trustee DeLuna. We are looking at the typical license agreement requires a guarantor. We are looking for options that a student can actually get insurance if they can't pay the bill. And while we don't want to increase the cost of students, we're looking at maybe some opportunities to provide funding for that, partial whole funding for the student in need in that area. So again, if the student can't get a guarantor, and we know we're going to have those students, that there may be a way that we can direct some funding their way, some foundation funding, perhaps. These are just thought exercises that those of us in this arena are looking at now, that we can provide that support for student without adding to their cost. But in order to see that the program performs financially, it needs to perform financially.
Thank you.
Okay. We're a report. Jump right in on Associated Students of Napa Valley College report. Is Priya Sharma online or? Okay. Okay. So, Danielle, if you can hear me, I'm gonna turn it over to you for your report. Classified Senate.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
I just wanted to say hello, and I have a terrible laryngitis. So I'm not going to give a report, but I didn't want to be a no-show. So hello and happy spring, and I'm signing off.
Well, get your voice back quick and feel better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Classified Association report. Jasenia Coda. I don't see Jasenia. Okay. Administrative Confidential Senate report. I think Christine Tapia is with us. Christine, turning it over to you.
Hi, good evening, board, cabinet, members of the campus community. I wanted to start I have a very short report, but I wanted to start it off by acknowledging that it's Women's History Month. And so as we commemorate that, I would like to acknowledge the invaluable contributions of women in higher education, especially of my colleagues here tonight, and also lift up the persistent challenges that we face and continuously fight against. So the women in our workforce are very resilient and innovative and significantly shape the landscape of Napa Valley College. And I am both thankful and honored to be in their company. So happy Women's History Month. In addition to the celebration of Women's History Month, this month has truly been March Madness for administrators for the college, not so much in terms of basketball, but related to a lot of the work that we've been doing with governance, with resource management, tech and facilities improvements, DEI, and our continuous need to adapt to the changes within and outside of the institution. So administrators continuously grapple with budget and staffing constraints. We balance the need for financial stability while striving to provide and advocate for quality education and valuable support services, especially for our students. We still work on deepening our understanding of equity because we believe that it is within our charge to create a college environment that celebrates diversity and inclusion. And I've also engaged in a lot of critical discussions and activities related to planning. And we just endorsed the latest design of the Educational Master Plan, which is coming your way soon. And our Senate now has a webpage that is housed within the governance website. So we're thankful for that. And we thank Denise Kaduri for her help with that. And so as we approach spring break, I want to highlight how important it is to support administrators and confidential staff in adapting to these institutional changes, especially in terms of staffing changes and increased responsibilities. And I would like to remind us all of the importance of creating a college environment that values the personal well-being and professional growth of our managers to enable us to work, to be effective in our work in supporting students, staff, and the whole institution. So happy spring break to those of you who get to go away for a little bit and rest. Take care of yourselves, and thank you for your time.
Christine, the board just wanted to also thank you again for your performance the other night with the dual enrollment and the joint board meeting with the Napa Valley Unified District. You did a really good job. The whole team did. But again, I wanted to recognize you. You stepped up and were a rock star. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Next, we will move to Academic Senate report. Matthew Conzer.
Hey folks, thank you for having me here. Also have a short report for you. The Academic Senate recently revised after 2 reads its bylaws. This was in relation to our recent update to AP 2510, college governance, participation, and local decision-making. The bylaws needed to be changed largely to reflect the removal of the term shared governance committees from our structures. And we had to recognize planning and budget now as district committees. Recently, we approved several BPs and APs. Some of those will be moving on to this stage. We're looking forward to signing those into mutual agreement at a soon pending meeting. The Senate also voted to affirm a commitment to the Academic Center for Equity and Excellence in Teaching and Learning. The Academic Senate is very interested in pursuing opportunities for professional learning and looking at what that's going to look like for the faculty and how we can continue to support that effort. We've identified some areas where we may have some conflicting processes and making sure that we are clarifying that structure and that process with district representation and making sure that there's no areas of oversight or gaps in that process. And we're also in close consultation looking at other areas where we don't have a documented process in place and making sure that we are entering discussions to finalize that and make sure that is documented and it's a process that everyone understands and can follow. But that concludes my report.
Thank you, Matt. Faculty Association report. Christy.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I also have a short report. Last weekend, I actually had the opportunity to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to the National Education Association's Higher Ed Conference, where I got to meet with my higher ed counterparts from all 50 states, and that was pretty amazing. It's amazing in good ways and in bad ways, of course. I met with some colleagues from Florida, and some of the things you hear about what happens in other states, you don't believe it's happening on this planet, much less in this country. Attacks on higher ed all over the country. So I just wanted to shine a spotlight on that, the the mantra is always that student learning conditions are also faculty working conditions. And that when we strive to make a better, more well-rounded, more informed world for our students, that our working conditions get better as well. And so I just wanted to say I learned a lot at that conference. As far as our negotiations, they are, as always, ongoing. And we currently have a vote happening for the 1% salary increase, as well as for the load, faculty load. And we will get the results of that vote at the end of this week. And other than that, I have nothing else to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, all of our representatives. The board is with you guys. It's tough times right now, and we're gonna get through it together as a team at all levels. So thank you. Next is president and board reports. And we've already done that, sorry. President cabinet report, sorry, we've done that.
No, President's cabinet report, no.
Yeah, there you go, sorry.
Okay, so if you don't mind opening the OA report, I wanted to connect a little bit with our historic joint board meeting on Tuesday, where a significant theme of pathways, providing and clarifying pathways for students was a big part of that. And so I wanted to highlight this semester's work to implement our program mapper tool. So the information that you see at the top of the screen shows our exploration pathways, and 5 of them had been in place for a few years now, but the 6th, wine and food, was actually developed last year at the request of faculty to represent that very significant part of our program offerings. So when students are looking at Napa Valley College as a potential educational opportunity, they can delve into one of these pathways, and then it will open up into all of the majors that are associated with that area that they might be interested in. But the program mapper tool, and if we scroll down a little bit to the bottom of this page, is really a significant support for students that really helps them to see what those programs of studies look like. So I think back in the day when we were in school, information was only in a college catalog or perhaps a flyer, and it was presented in a purely narrative format. And students who lean that way maybe figured it all out, or they met with a counselor. What Program Mapper does is really make it the same information presented in a much more engaging way that's very clear and maps out the pathway toward completion in a particular program of study. So looking ahead to next month's presentation from respiratory care, I'm giving this as one example, but you'll find exactly the same data sets of information for every single program that we offer, whether it's a certificate or a degree. So you can see the 5 types of information that are included for each program: a description of the program learning outcomes, the salary growth and career information, and then a detailed program map that shows semester by semester the recommended sequence of courses that students should take if they choose that. And then the very last item is links to resources, including enroll now, register now. So you can see in this example, there's a brief description of respiratory care. This information is also replicated in the catalog, so there's not conflicting information. It's just presented in a way that it is more accessible visually. Not all of our programs have the video. The video is a component that many, particularly our vocational programs, have developed. So some of them have the video, some do not. But they all have the program learning outcomes, and students can see, if I want to study this, this is what I'm going to be able to do when I complete this program. And then the next segment is really significant, I think important in terms of what we have identified in the Educational Master Plan and in other documents about supporting students in joining careers that will allow them to earn a living wage. So not a minimum wage, but a living wage. So we see the 3 pieces of information that are in that graphic The first is the low end and the high end of a career in this area. And then the average, that's really useful for people to know when I complete this program, it's likely I'll be making on the lower end, but if I stay in it a while, this is where I can go to. The middle section of that graphic is also really important for students to know, am I going to commit whatever amount of time, a year, 2 years, longer if it takes that long, of my life? Is there going to be a job available for me when I finish? So every program has this associated data point of the projected job growth in the coming years. So they know when they finish the program, there's going to be a job for them. Or if it's flat, maybe I need to be a little bit more competitive and see if that's the right career for me right now. And then you can see on the right-hand side a little bit more information about careers and job growth in this general type of field. And then the next segment is the map itself. And I want to commend and express appreciation to all of the faculty who serve in program coordinator roles, as well as our counseling department who worked really closely during the fall semester to confirm and affirm that these are the most up-to-date program maps that reflect what the programs look like in our curriculum forum, and also that this is their recommendation about the sequence to take these classes in. That's really important because for students who are trying to see, okay, what does my semester look like? And hopefully they have met with a counselor and have an educational plan, but this can also give them a sense about how long is this likely to take? What is my time commitment? How many classes would I need to take in each semester? And for our working adults, that's really important information to see kind of the weight of the course commitment. So you can see in this particular case, this is the program map for respiratory care that in each semester over 2 years, they would take these courses. This is one of those areas. Our health occupations do have some prerequisite courses that are required before they can enter the program. So it also provides all of that information, which is critically important so that they are getting ready to apply for those specialty areas. And then if you scroll down a bit more, you can see that the bottom does a summary of what the minimum requirements are for the units. And at the very end of this, and I didn't put this in, but there are links to our various registration tools. So long-term career outlook and goals. So this is a very significant change. It was launched at the beginning of spring semester. It's available for students now, and we want everybody to be using it. And if you know anybody who's interested in a program with us and they're not sure, program mapper, and then we'll find all of this information for them. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. In the program mapper, how often is it updated? So is it just every new, as we change schedules and everything, it's updated, I'm assuming?
Well, so the schedules are only going to determine the times that the classes are offered. The program mapper would be updated if a program's requirements change.
Okay.
So programs may keep their same requirements for several years, in which case nothing will change, or they may update them in a year, and then that would be updated then.
Okay. So would the students be able to be linked to the classes specifically through this, or is it just the map?
It's just the map. They still need to apply, and then they will go through all the steps to enrollment.
Okay.
But what they can see is what they should be taking that first semester and every semester. It's not a substitute for an educational plan. I think my colleague will want to really affirm that. It is not a substitute for an educational plan. But when students are exploring and they're trying, I think that for some students, it can look intimidating and unclear. What is it that I'm committing to? What does it mean to go to college? How much time is that? What is that? How is that going to impact my future? So it's really to provide that information to students so that they can see more clearly what is possible and they can explore, like, all of those programs up there. It's just really fun, I think, to go in and go, oh, I could do that. I could do that. And hopefully that will, for prospective students, that will link them into our counseling services so they can make sure that they are doing all the things they need to get on that path.
Great, thanks.
I echo my colleagues' comments. It is critical for them to make sure that they do connect with the counselor. However, the program map is just that light, if you will, at the end of the tunnel that they can see kind of what that might be. Program Mapper, when we were working on this a couple of years back, it is a fun tool. You can click on there and kind of see what jobs are out there and kind of how much they pay and whatnot. So it's excellent that we're doing that. So good evening, board. Good evening, colleagues and community. And also want to acknowledge Women's History Month, acknowledge the powerful women in this room and the powerful women in my life, the mujeres, my mother, my abuelita, my partner, my sister. So I want to lift it up for them. And start off today by giving you just my report tonight is going to be pretty brief. I last week was at the Chief Student Service Officer Conference in San Francisco. So good opportunity for chief student service officers from up and down the state to come together and just to connect, to collaborate, to engage in workshops and just a good time to learn from each other. We had keynote speakers from multiple keynote speakers, amazing presentations. Learned a lot. I'm going to bring some ideas back to Napa Valley College. And this year, I was excited because we were able to open it up to other team members in student affairs. So both Dean Jessica Erickson and Dean Robin D'Arcangelo were able to attend. So offered us an opportunity to be there and build together and with colleagues. So a lot of really good work happens after a conference, right after dinner and whatnot. So it was a great opportunity for us. So want to also just call your attention to Napa Valley College Exploration Days. Those continue. I've talked about these in the past, but I want to highlight this because this is really important work. We talk about kind of the program mapper, this idea of what students can see, right? Well, I'm also a big believer that when students come to our campus and experience the campus, see it, right, it becomes part of their story or their history, right? So the exploration days are really just that. It's an opportunity for us to connect with our local schools, bring students literally to campus, right, and share with them all the amazing information NVC has to provide for them in all of our amazing programs. So this is a collaboration between student affairs and academic affairs. We work really closely to basically do a welcome to them and then give them a tour. Put them into the classroom, check out the CTE programs, check out all of our different amazing things happening on campus, have a student panel, and just engage in a fun, hopefully transformative experience. We have one planned for May 2nd. And the reason why I say May 2nd, because we're actually going to attach it to this year's Cinco de Mayo celebration. So you heard me right. We're bringing the Cinco de Mayo celebration back to Napa Valley College. It's an opportunity for us to connect with our community, to celebrate culture, and to also do some important and critical outreach, right? And we're going to bring students to campus, buses, and feed them, take care of them, and hopefully open it up to the rest of the community as well. So more to come on that. My April report, I'll be able to provide you much more in-depth presentation on what's going to be going on for Cinco de Mayo celebration. So my last event that I wanted to talk about was the Viva Mariachi. So if you can scroll down. Viva Mariachi is literally about 2 weeks away. So if you have not got your tickets yet for our Viva Mariachi Festival in April 6th and 7th, please do. An amazing opportunity to hear amazing mariachi. This year we're excited to bring back Mariachi Los Gavilanes from Monaco Middle School in Las Vegas. For those of you who heard them last year, we had to bring them back because people have been asking all year, are they coming back? Yeah, they're coming back. So also Mariachi Plata from College of Southern Nevada, amazing group, will be joining us. And then we have a group local or close to here, Mariachi del Valle from Davis Senior High. So they always try to represent middle school group, high school group, and then a college group. So we're excited about that opportunity. Please come and support this amazing festival. This year, I do want to say we are actually going to have a mini version of the festival in Santa Elena the night before. So this is we've done it in the past in small versions, but we're able to actually work with the city of Santa Elena, and there's going to be a smaller version of the festival free, happening Up Valley to our Up Valley individuals. So if you want to come by, check it out. Your community members, please do. That's another great opportunity. So exciting stuff happening, and yes, that's all. That's my report. Usually report.
Thank you, Dr. Guerrero. I'm going to make this brief because I think I've covered most of the items in previous reports. Can we move down to the facilities area, please? The Wine Education Center, just up a little, Catherine, thank you. The Wine Education Center is scheduled groundbreaking on May the 17th. If you haven't received information about that already, you soon will. The foundation is heading up that enterprise. I'll share with you from a facilities perspective. There are 16 olive trees we are relocating to the landscape plan in the student residential site. So it was a great reuse of olive trees, and we didn't have to cut them down. So that was an idea that came out of the facilities team after we're trying to decide what to do with 16 olive trees. So good news. We're also, I would just want to report on the Ash landfill site. We have effectively approval from the county on our interim plan. We'll be doing a site review with the county again to determine the fence line and some landscape's a generous term, some coverage areas that we want to address in that plan that gets us effectively to opening. And then we will need to continue a little more work to get to the permanent closure plan. So that's well on its way. And I certainly haven't lost sight of the need to revisit with our state and local resource government agencies about follow up there. So about who can help us offset those expenses down the road. So I think that would conclude my report.
Carl?
Good afternoon or good evening at this point. Just last month, I attended the Association of California Community College Administrators Conference, ACA, and I attended that conference both as the president of the Association of Chief Human Resources Officers, as well as an employee of Napa Valley College. During my time at this conference, I served on the Affiliate Summit panel. And on this panel, which was made up of the leaders from our CIO group, our CSO group, and our CFO group. And we had a really good discussion amongst ourselves, but also engaged with the attendees of the conference on many topics on how we can collaborate on these topics, such as basic needs for students. How do we band together to have conversations with the Chancellor's Office around releasing unfunded mandates, particularly unfunded mandates that fall on the wrong side of the 50% law, and also statewide common ERP system, and of course, professional development for administrators. It was a rewarding experience, and we will have this same panel present at the CFO conference. And I do believe that all of our constituencies are going to have these panels to continue the conversation and encourage collaboration. I'm excited to be a part of this because coming from Napa, a single college district, needing to have that voice and to advocate, particularly around these unfunded mandates, where we are asked to do certain things, Title IX improvements, Title IX improvements, Title V updates, and short turnaround times, but again, unfunded mandates. And so I'm very proud to represent both ACRO as well as Napa Valley College in this space. If we can go to the second page under benefits and wellness, I'm not going to cover everything. A lot of what's in my report just showcases the hard work of the HR staff. We will be having a Medicare one-on-one training that will be offered April the 18th. But what I'm excited about is we're bringing back a walking challenge. One of the things I know you guys have heard me say in the past, we want a healthy employee group. And one of the ways we try to encourage everyone to stand up, bend your body and get out there and let's have some competition. And I'm very competitive. I'll just leave that there. I'm very competitive. So the walking challenge will begin April the 1st, and I would encourage all of you as well to sign up, join a team, and get out and walk with our employees. Our EEO plan. The draft of our EEO plan has been approved by the Chancellor's Office. And I have presented it to our EEO Advisory Committee, continue to work with that committee in addition to working this plan through our shared governance. And I anticipate on bringing that plan for presentation and hopefully approval at our May board meeting. Our recruitment summary, we're currently recruiting for 28 positions. 23 are currently open. Out of those 28 positions, 16 are classified, 1 confidential, 5 are faculty, and 6 are administrative. 17 of those positions are from unrestricted funding, and the rest are either restricted or a combination of both. We are recruiting for a Title IX Civil Rights Compliance Officer. There is, right now, I am the sole Title IX coordinator, and I work with my colleague, Dr. Guerrero, in this space. However, with housing coming on board, this is an extreme need, and this position will report under HR. One of the things that I did not include in my report, and I will update this and issue an updated report. This is very important. This is near and dear to my heart, and it should be for you as well. The week of April the 15th through the 19th, we will be recognizing our classified professionals. It is Classified Professionals Appreciation Week, and we have a whole week of activities planned. And the first one will be in this space. And so a save the date will be going out along with the calendar of events. But I would like to remind all of you on Friday, April the 19th, we'll have our annual appreciation lunch. And you guys know if you've attended any of these lunches, we like to go big or go home. I don't want to send anyone home because it's still work time. So we're going to go big and encourage you all to please participate in the activities as well as the lunch. And that's my report. Thank you.
Trustee Baker.
How many people makes a team on this step challenge?
I don't believe we limit it, but every single time we do this online challenge, it's a little different. The teams have been about 5.
I think we need to have a board team.
But remember,
She's competitive. Yeah. So am I, Charo. So am I.
I was gonna say I want Jenny on my team. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Powell.
Rounding out President Cabinet reports, just a few updates from me. This past weekend, I had the chance to attend the CEO Symposium in San Diego in the Hurdy West retreat, the board retreat, Sunday and Monday. So it was about 5 days of consecutive travel where I spent a great deal of time with my CEO counterparts from around the state and had the chance to check in on a host of things, student housing, the state budget, and just overall kind of campus climate and a lot of the initiatives that are going on across the state. Incredibly helpful. I think it was helpful to see that some of the challenges that we're facing at NVC are not unique to us, and also very encouraging to see how other districts who are a little further along have been addressing some of those things. And a lot of things that I'm bringing back from those 2 events to NVC and looking forward to continuing to do the work in those spaces. Yesterday, we held a town hall forum. I had the chance to update the campus on the statewide budget, on implications to us here at NVC, and then draw the connection between the budget the state budget, our local budget, and our governance and planning processes. We ended up going probably 20 minutes over time because there were just that many questions and that much dialogue. I think it was a good chance to update, the rest of the campus on some of the work that maybe they hadn't been aware had been happening here on campus, and then also to just acknowledge the efforts that collectively many members of the college have been, striving to achieve in terms of really reigniting, engagement and true multi-constituent group engagement in our processes. So I want to say thanks to everyone who attended that and for your questions, and also for the questions that keep coming in on email. Those are helpful too. So right now we are, and I'll be joining soon, a safety walk on campus, where this came out of discussions from one of the, I believe, management retreats, where we talked around just overall campus safety, the need to do some replacements in terms of light bulbs, and that really kind of morphed into this safety walk where members of the campus community are walking around now in the evening time, just to get a sense of areas where we need to address lighting, places where we may be concerned about tripping hazards, all of these things, door security. Part of one of many efforts, for us to really actively engage the campus community, to reignite our facilities committee, and to begin addressing some of the infrastructure goals that we have in a very proactive way. So if you want to stick around, I'm sure we can find them somewhere on campus as they walk around conducting a safety walk. I'll be joining them soon. I have really good news to share about one of our students. I think I announced a few weeks ago that I was the recipient of the Phi Theta Kappa President's Paragon Award. It's an award that is given out to community college presidents in their first 3 years or so, a national award that is actually awarded from student nominations. So I was very humbled to receive the nomination from the students. So I'll be going to the national conference in Orlando, Florida. I was not intending to go until I heard that our student, Agatha Ramos Mayer, won the PTK Catalyst Award. So she will be, round of applause for Agatha. When I heard she was receiving the award, I said, we both have to go. We have to get acknowledged. So she will be receiving that award on April 4th. I'll be receiving my award on April 5th. We'll be in Florida to re-acknowledge Agatha for her great work, and myself for the confidence that the students have in my support for PTK. So, and I'll take pictures. I'll take some pictures. Lastly, I want to say thank you to members of our multi-constituent district committees for the work that they're actively and currently engaged in our resource allocation process. This is the first time that we're rolling out this particular type of process to begin prioritizing how we're going to allocate our resources. And I think this is a really big step for us as an institution, because it addresses a lot of the areas that were identified within our accreditation self-report and that the team itself affirmed in terms of needing, more proactive engagement, more meaningful engagement, and more cross-campus dialogue and discussion around institutional priorities. This is not our ending point. It's one step in a very positive direction for us to ensure that the decisions we make are heavily informed by true multi-constituent group engagement, and that they're levied and measured based upon their overall effectiveness and ability to accomplish the goals which we're beginning to articulate through the educational master plan. This is the vision and the ideas of the infrastructure ideas that I laid out more than a year and a half ago for the vision in terms of where we as a campus can go. And I'm very proud that the campus has taken this call to action and moved it forward in a very intentional, engaging, and thoughtful way. So I just want to say thank you to the folks who are involved in that. Please keep up the good work and appreciate all you do for our campus. And with that concludes our president's report.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Now we are on to standing committee and other appointment reports. So we do have a DAS, District Auxiliary Services report. So I'll turn that over to Trustee Olson.
Thanks, Trustee Iverson. I was happy to take the reins from Trustee DeLuna and step up as the board representative on the District Auxiliary Services Committee or Board. And I attended my first meeting last week, and Carolee Catalicca was kind enough to give me a summary that I could use as my report tonight. She started her presentation with giving updates and highlights and really sharing about what District Auxiliary Services means, what they are in charge of, what they run for my benefit, which I really appreciated. Some highlights from her report from that night are in the food services area. We have a new partnership with Sushi Monkey, and there are grab and go sushi dinners or lunches, meals at the cafe. Save the date for April 10th for NVC Happy Hour and Food Festival at the NVC Cafe. A newer development is the print shop is developing a business plan, which will include outside client services. So any local nonprofit, other educational service, and outside clients can access the print shop for reduced rates for all collateral. The business plan will be presented at the next DOS meeting in June. Financials are looking good as far as our Performing Arts, Napa Valley Writers Conference, Napa CPR, AHA Training Center, Educational Travel Program, Viva Mariachi Festival, and Food Services. They're all performing better than budget. So, yay. And that is all. She has on here the Viva Mariachi Festival as well, but Dr. Guerrero shared the update about that. So I'm really excited to continue this work and give you updates after the next meeting in June.
Thank you, Trustee Olson. Do we have a Viticulture and Winery Foundation report? Audit and Finance, no report. McPherson Distinguished, Trustee Kishner.
Yes, yes,
On that.
we met, and the McPherson Distinguished Teaching Award Selection Committee has deliberated and come to a decision, but mum is the word for now.
Dr. Ed Shank Award, anything going on that one? And we do not have a Napa Valley College Foundation report this evening. Unless Jim, you want to share anything?
I think they are focused on their fundraising efforts, very actively involved in that, and they're really looking forward to part of the fundraising effort will be the groundbreaking, at which time they will be inviting some focused attendees in terms of leveraging their efforts to raise those funds.
Exciting stuff going on over there, all over right now. Trustee and board chair reports. Let's start with our student trustee. Been quiet this evening.
Hello. I don't got much besides I had a chance to volunteer at the River Trail kickoff, which you can see why I'm wearing my polo shirt. So I had a chance to change. There was actually a lot of people who actually show up and had the interest to see the tour, like 50 plus people more. And the crazy part about it, I actually had the chance to go see the tour. And the crazy part is that the photos that I saw, like the advertisement stuff, it looks exactly like that in person, which I got really shocked about that. And everybody got shocked about that too. So it looked really, really beautiful. And that's about it. Besides student government are planning to do a called plushie something. It's like a little teddy bear, but like they have like a hand shape like that, like a storm logo on it, written on it. And they're planning to sell that. Not sure when. I know April 10th on the save the date, student government are also doing a fundraising of selling the ice creams or something with that. We're still debating on what to fundraise on that, but that includes my report.
Thank you. Let's just go down the line. Trustee Kishner.
I met a couple weeks ago with the classified union leaders and just kind of had an informal hello, get to know each other discussion. They asked some questions and shared some concerns. And then the last thing I want is to just invite everybody to Holy Festival in American Canyon at Shenandoah Park in a couple days on the 24th. I think it's from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It's a very kid-friendly event. There's going to be a lot of kids throwing colored dust at each other. So if you do come with something that is okay if it gets ruined.
Trustee Deluna. Trustee Olson.
I just want to reiterate what's already been said about the great NVC and VUSD joint board meeting the other night. It was very inspiring. I loved hearing staff from both institutions share about what they're doing together to support dual enrollment. Again, a big thank you to Christine Tapia. She had her energy and her expertise was just so on par that night, and we're really lucky to have her here at NVC. Thanks.
Trustee Rios.
No report really, except that I did get my truck washed this afternoon as I came to campus, and actually that was very convenient. We should do that more often. My truck hasn't been washed in probably 6 months, and that made it really easy. So I paid him a little extra.
Trustee Rios, it's interesting you chose to do that the day before it rains.
Yeah.
I know. I mentioned that to my wife. I said, I got to get my truck washed. And she goes, where? I said, at the college. And she said, you know, it's going to rain. I said, well, maybe it won't if I get my truck washed.
We're actually planning to do it again on April 5th. Just letting you know. That's all.
Trustee Baker.
I also got my car washed, which was very fortuitous because I parked under a very unfortunate tree 2 days ago. So I will not be making that choice again. And I also paid them extra because they earned it. So I really appreciated the presentation with the joint meeting. My favorite takeaway from the night was something that one of the NVUSD employees, I can't remember, I think her name was Faith, said, and she was talking about helping career advisory for young people, and to switch the script a little bit. It's not what you want to be when you grow up, it's what problems do you want to solve. And I love that just that way of looking at life in general in a different way. My younger son, Ryan, is going to be a penguin next year. So he will be part of the first cohort at the early college. So I'll get a front row seat to that. He will also be an interesting test case because he has a lot of accommodations. And so I'm interested to hear more about how that's going to work and how, assuming that he becomes a future NVC student, how he can transition to that. I will see hopefully some of you at Mariachi, but I will be missing our next meeting. First meeting I'm missing in my entire tenure here. So I'm going to be going to New York to see my older son compete in an international dance competition. And between now and then, since I will be not here and I don't want to be remiss, but April 7th to 13th is National Library Week. So early happy National Library Week. And during that week, please take some time to acknowledge the library workers in your midst. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what I think everybody that was there for the joint board meeting with the unified district, it was really informative. We have a great team. I think dual enrollment is a huge opportunity. I wish I would have known more about it when I was in high school. It's huge. And I think today is officially the first day of spring, right? Or was it yesterday? But lots of change in processes here, kind of the same time. So I just thank you for bearing with us, and a couple stumbles this evening, but we're good. We're a team, and I'm really happy with the district and our leadership and everyone on campus. So thank you. And with that, let's adjourn this meeting and go home.